What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see we actually got 23 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 23 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes guys, you heard that right, 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 23 picks right like me, win more bets, to receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $630 just yesterday, and another member who won $462 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So I want to give a quick shout out to Frozen Alaskan, who said I've been cashing on his first quarter points a lot. So he's probably referring to one of those picks, but shouts out to him. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below and like this video, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Trey Young, and this one is for 10.5 assists, and this one is for less. Now we look at Trey Young, we've actually seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we have seen on March 31st, they faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, where he had 19 assists in that matchup. Then faced off against Portland on April 2nd, where he had 15 assists. Then faced off against Dallas on April 3rd, had 12 assists there. Then 9 assists against New York Knicks on April 6th. And then on April 7th, facing off against Utah Jazz, had 15 assists there. So when it comes to Trey Young, he has only gone on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games, but we do see them have a very different matchup because they do face off against none other than Orlando Magic. Now when we look at this matchup, we do see, starting off with Atlanta Hawks, we do see Atlanta Hawks do rank 8th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 37-41. So they have done a fantastic job so far this season. Now they have actually clinched a play-in position, which is really good to see. However, this is still a very important game for the Hawks, and the reason being is that the Hawks do want to actually win this matchup because, you know, they are only 1 game in front of the 9th spot, which is Bulls, and the 10th spot, which is Heat. So, you know, they need to win this, because if they end up in the second or the bottom half of that play-in, then they don't get the advantage of being in that 7th and 8th spot. So they are still fighting for that 7th and 8th spot, and so are Orlando Magic, because Orlando Magic have clinched a play-in spot, but they also rank 7th. So both of these teams are wanting to win this game in order to stay in that 7th and 8th spot as much as they can. And like we mentioned, they face off against Orlando, and looking at Orlando Magic, we do see that Orlando Magic rank 1st when it comes to assists allowed. Now, when it comes to Orlando Magic, they have done a fantastic job at restricting assists all season, and it's definitely going to translate in this matchup as well. Now, as you all know, although Trey Young has gone on the over multiple times over the last 5, he has faced off against much easier teams, and teams that don't really do a great job at restricting assists, you know, in general. But now, against Orlando, we should definitely see a very different outcome. Similar to, you know, Orlando Magic is that we tend to see them do a great job at restricting assist as well to the guard position, and specifically that being the point guard. And since Trey Young is a point guard, we definitely see that affecting him greatly. Now where Orlando really do shine, however, is definitely due to the fact that Orlando are a very slow paced team. What we have seen them do time and time again is that they do a fantastic job at slowing the pace down, and because of that, against Orlando Magic, we definitely should see Trey Young go on the under due to just sheer volume alone. He may not get the same amount of volume that he usually does see. So Orlando Magic will definitely slow this game down as much as they can. Now looking at Trey Young against Orlando, or the last time that they did face off again, they did face off this season, and they have played 2 games already against each other. Now Trey Young did play them on the 10th of February, and he actually had 8 assists in that matchup. So he did have 8 assists in that matchup, so under the line as well, and then faced faced off again 10 days after on the 20th of February, where he only had 6 assists in that matchup. So as you see right there, when we look at Trey Young, we have seen him go on the under on both of those occasions, and that's a big reason why we do very much like the under once again. So when we look at Trey Young here, we definitely see him going on the under due to these reasons, and the fact that Orlando also have shown it time and time again in these past 2 games that they really do restrict Trey Young as much as possible. We should see a similar outcome in this next one as well. So, this one's kind of a no-brainer to us there. So Trey Young, 10.5 assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next player, we're going to be talking about Carlton Carrington. So as you all know, Carlton, great player for none other than the Washington Wizards, and this one is for 5.5 assists, and this one is for less. Now look at Carlton Carrington. We've actually seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we see that on March 30th, they faced off against the Brooklyn Nets, where he had 2 assists there. Then had 9 assists against Miami Heat on April 1st. Then on April 3rd, faced off against Sacramento, where he had 7 assists there. Then 7 assists again against Orlando on April 4th. And then April 7th, faced off against Boston and had 6 assists there. So we have actually seen Carlton go on the under only 1 out of the last 5 games, but now they do face off against none other than Indiana Pacers in this next matchup. Now, as you all know, Indiana Pacers have done a really good job so far this season, and they are a very good team. Now, looking at the rankings of both of these teams, we definitely see a very different picture, because when we look at the Pacers, starting off with them, we do see that Indiana Pacers do rank 4th in the actual Eastern Conference with a record of 47-31. Now, they have actually clinched a playoff spot, which is interesting to see. Now, on top of that, when we also look at where they are right now, which is in the 4th spot, we are still expecting them to do pretty decently due to the fact that when it actually comes to the Pacers, they have kind of already solidified their spot in that 4th place. Now, Bucks are just behind them with but a 3-win gap between them, so there is still possibility they could catch up, but we don't really see it affecting that much either way. But we are still expecting Pacers to still come out in this game and try their best, because when we look at it, even if Pacers do rest their stars, we have seen them still play very well. Now, Wizards on the other side are a little bit of a different story. Wizards rank last in the Eastern Conference with a record of 17-61. So very different record. They rank 15th as well, which is a big thing there, because we are expecting the Washington Wizards to look to tank and to pretty much just try to get this loss as much as they can, due to the fact that they do want to get a high draft pick coming into the next draft. So this is kind of important in that sense, and that's a big reason why when it comes to Carlton Carrington, we are very likely to see him go on the under, and that is due to the fact that Pacers, when we look at Pacers, they do actually rank tied 10th when it comes to restricting assists. So they're ranked 10th in assists allowed, which I think is great to see. On top of that, when you also look at Carlton Carrington, you also do see that he does play that guard position, and Indiana Pacers do a fantastic job, especially against the guard position. Now, although some of you may be thinking, we are in a situation where the Pacers are probably going to rest their stars, what we actually have seen is that Pacers defense have actually improved for some reason over the last 10 games. So when we look even on a shorter time frame, or more of a realistic in a sense of the game plan right now, we've actually seen Pacers bump up, and they currently rank 3rd when it comes to assists allowed over the last 10 games. So surprisingly, although they are resting some players here and there, and I'm not saying resting by not letting them play, but they do definitely have different game plans, and they definitely have taken off their stars early if they can. We actually have seen Pacers do a great job restricting assists, and we definitely see that happening in this next game, no doubt about it. Now, looking at Carlton Carrington so far against the Pacers this season, we have seen something a little bit similar. Now, when we look at their most of their games, we do see they faced off against each other on the 24th of November. Now, Carlton Carrington had 22 minutes in that game, and he actually had 2 assists in that matchup, so he did go on the under there. Then we saw them play each other again on the 12th of February, where he had 5 assists in that matchup, so still under in that matchup. And then on the 27th of March, they actually played again, and then he had 6 assists in that matchup. So he did go on the over in that one. However, guys, the fact that he did go on the under in 2 out of the 3, we definitely see that being a huge thing coming into this one. So for that reason, we do definitely like, the actual under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Carlton Carrington going on the under once again, especially against this Pacers team. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for this situation here for Carlton Carrington, because when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. So Carlton Carrington, 5.5 assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Mike Conley. So as you all know, Mike Conley, great player from none other than the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this one is a fantastic one for actually 4.5 assists, and this one is for less. Now, when we look at Mike Conley, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games, which is interesting to see here. Now, when we look at this, we actually do see that Mike Conley has gone on the under in 3 out of the last 5, but looking at the last 5, we see on March 29th, they faced off against Phoenix, and he actually had 4 assists there. Then on March 31st, faced off against Detroit, where he had 2 assists there. Then after that, faced off against Denver Nuggets on April 2nd, had 8 assists. After that, 6 assists against Brooklyn Nets on April 4th. And then April 6th, Philadelphia 76ers had 4 assists there. So for that reason, we definitely do very much are liking the under due to the fact that he has gone on the under multiple times. But now they do also face off against none other than the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, looking at this matchup, looking at both of these teams specifically when it comes to rankings. Now, starting off with the Minnesota Timberwolves, we see that Timberwolves do rank 7th in the Western Conference with a record of 46-32. So, as we know, when it comes to actually the Western Conference, it has been very difficult due to the fact that when we actually look at these teams, we actually do see that the Western Conference, the team that is coming 5th right now, has the same record as a team that is coming 8th right now. So between these teams from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, where Timberwolves do rank 7th, a win or loss can definitely drastically change the actual outcome of whether they're in the playoffs or they're in the play-ins. So that's why it's been a very difficult and tight race for the Western Conference. Even Nuggets and Lakers are not even that too far ahead, as Nuggets are only 1 game in front of Timberwolves with 1 extra win, and then Lakers are only 2 actual wins above Timberwolves, and they currently rank 3rd. So it's a very tight race, and the fact that anything can really change is why a lot of these teams, especially Minnesota, are fighting until the last breath, because each win is definitely going to matter at the end of it. So this is definitely going to be a make or break, or a very important game for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it is going to be an interesting game, and we are expecting them to play very hard. Now, looking on the other side of things, we do see the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Bucks are in a little bit of a different situation. The Bucks do rank 5th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 44-34. Now, they are in somewhat a different situation. They have already clinched a playoff spot. However, they are probably most likely going to try to still win this game, because they can still fall down to the 6th spot, as the Detroit Pistons, who are 6th, are actually only 1 game behind. So Milwaukee Bucks do most likely want to stay in that 5th position. They will have themselves a pretty good matchup against the Pacers, and they probably do want to avoid the Knicks, and I think that's the matchup that they definitely want. So for that, they will need to stay at 5th, and they will need to win this game in order to stay in there and stay within that pool to stay at that 5th spot. So very important. Now, looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, when it comes to actually assists, we do see that the Bucks do rank when it comes to assists allowed. We see them ranked 21st. So they rank a little bit low. However, the reason why we still do like the under for this situation here is that when it comes to Mike Conley, we do very much like the under, as when we look at the Bucks, we do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting assists to the guard position. And for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Conley going on the under due to the fact that Bucks just do a great job defending the guard position. But on top of that, when we also, look further, we've also seen Conley's usage rate fall quite a bit in the actual assist category as well, which is why he's gone on the under in 3 out of the last 5. So we definitely see that playing a huge part coming into this matchup, which is why we do like the under for this one. Now looking at Conley facing off against the Bucks, they actually did face off last season. So Conley hasn't actually faced off against the Bucks this season. Now obviously you want to take this with a very, very big grain of salt due to the fact that Minnesota are a different team, Bucks are a very different team, but a lot of you do want to see when was the last time they played, how did it look like. So we saw last season Conley on the 8th of February actually had 9 assists, and then 23rd of February had 2 assists in that matchup. So like I said, it is really hard and difficult to make a decision or to really use that information very heavily. I would say lightly take it with a grain of salt, because obviously it was last season and that's very two different teams. Now when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have a favorite for the under as well, so that works out in our favor there. So Mike Conley, 4.5 assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Dyson Daniels. So as we all know, Dyson Daniels is a fantastic player for the Atlanta Hawks, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season because he's been averaging 14.2 points, which ranks him 71st, 5.8 rebounds, ranking him 59th, 4.3 assists, ranking him 55th, and then a 49.4% field goal percentage, ranking him 36th. So when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, they are in a pretty decent situation, and when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, they do have themselves a very interesting matchup against none other than the Orlando Magic. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game, and looking at both of these teams, we do see something pretty interesting. Now starting off with the Atlanta Hawks, we do see that the Atlanta Hawks do have a record of 37-41 and actually rank 8th in the Eastern Conference. Now they have actually clinched a playoff spot, which I think is fantastic to see, but on top of that, they are currently ranked 8th, and just above them is actually the Orlando Magic, who do have a record of just one game in front, or one win in front, at 38-40. So when it comes to Orlando Magic, they do rank 7th, so they are in the play-in. So if the play-ins does happen as of right now, we could see Hawks face off against the Magic. However, the reason why it is still important for both of these teams to actually play hard is due to the fact that Bulls have a record of 36 wins as well, and Heat also have a record of 36 wins, who both rank 9th and 10th. And if you don't know already, being in that 7th to 8th spot, it actually does give you a second chance if you actually end up losing that game in the play-in. So being in that 7th and 8th spot is very, very important. It does give you a lifeline, and that's why all 4 of these teams are going to continue to push to try to make try to go on the over in this situation. So, for that reason, we definitely do very much like how this game is definitely going to be played. We're not expecting them to take it lightly or any sort of tanking going on, which I think is fantastic. And looking at Orlando Magic, we do see that Orlando do rank 1st in points allowed, 1st in assists allowed, and also when it comes to rebounds allowed, they also rank 9th. So they rank very, very well in all 3 categories, and for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Like I just mentioned, Orlando Magic do a fantastic job at restricting all 3 categories, but on top of that, Dyson Daniels is a guard, and actually at that, he is a shooting guard to be specific, and Orlando Magic do a fantastic job at restricting those 3 categories to the actual shooting guard position. So we definitely see someone like Daniels going on the under in this one. Now, when it comes to Dyson Daniels as well, when we look at actually his usage rate in all 3 departments, it is pretty decent. So we definitely can see Orlando trying to restrict him as much as they can. Now, looking at his last 5 games, he has had some pretty decent games, do not get me wrong, but they are very all situational. He has faced off against easier teams at restricting, those 3 categories of points, rebounds, and assists. So he was able to take advantage of them, but some of the games he had 12 points, 1 assist, 2 rebounds against New York Knicks, and they do a tough job or do a great job at restricting, rebounds and assists, and they did that to Dyson Daniels when it comes to New York Knicks. Another matchup that they did have was actually against Portland, where he had 22 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist. And the most recent matchup, he had 19 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds. So although the last 5 games, Dyson Daniels has had a pretty decent usage rate, it is definitely due to the fact that they have faced off against easier teams or teams where they don't really need to play as hard for their position. So it's definitely been an interesting time. And on top of that, coming into this game, we definitely do like Orlando due to the fact that Orlando do a fantastic job at slowing down faster paced teams. As we all know, Magic are a very, very slow paced team, and we definitely see that affecting the Hawks greatly. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the under for Dyson Daniels. We definitely see him going on the under here in all 3 categories. Now getting to the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Stephen Curry. So, Stephen Curry, as we all know, great player for the Golden State Warriors. And as we all know, the Golden State Warriors have done a fantastic job so far this season. And Steph Curry specifically has been averaging 24.4 points, ranking him 12th, 4.3 rebounds, 105th, when it comes to rebounds as well, 6.1 assists, ranking him 18th, and then 44.5% field goal percentage, ranking him 90th. So Steph Curry has been playing fantastic, and when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, they do have themselves a very intense matchup against actually the Phoenix Suns. So it's definitely going to be a very, very interesting game. As you all already may know, when we look at the Golden State Warriors, they do actually currently rank 6th in the Western Conference. So they rank pretty high and pretty decently at that. However, when it comes to the West, we actually do see that no team besides Thunder and Rockets at the first and second place have actually solidified a playoff spot just yet. It is such a tight race between all these teams that anything can really change if, teams like the Warriors end up winning a couple or even losing a couple. So that's why it is going to come down to the wire for the Warriors, and we are expecting them to push it through and actually be able to get this win. Now, looking at also, where they are, they currently rank 6th with a record of 46-32, but Clippers, who are 5th, 7th at Timberwolves, and also 8th at Grizzlies, all have the same record as the Warriors. So it is definitely going to come down to the wire. So this is definitely a make or break game for the Warriors if they want to be in a playoff spot rather than be in a position where they have to face, a play-in situation. So they definitely are going to try to push for that position. Now, looking at Suns on the other side, Suns are a little bit of a different situation. Suns currently rank 11th in the Western Conference, and they do have a record of 35-43. So, very, very different record there. And when it comes to the Suns, obviously they are trying to solidify or trying to find a way if they can get a spot in the actual playoffs or play-ins at that. Now, is it still possible? Yes, to some extent, but the Mavericks may need to lose pretty much every single game from now on out in order for that to happen. So they could potentially slip through the win if the Suns go on a little bit of a win streak to end. And we are expecting Suns to definitely fight until the end to see if they can make in that play-in position. So it is definitely going to be very, very important from them in that sense. So I definitely see that being a huge thing there. Now, getting into, the matchup and also looking at the Phoenix Suns, we do see that the Phoenix Suns defensively do rank when it comes to points allowed. They actually do rank 26. Moving on into assists allowed, we see that the Suns do rank 23rd, and then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Suns do rank, a little bit better as a rank 8th. So surprisingly rank higher in rebounds. However, for Stephen Curry, we do very much like the over for the situation here, but in the points and assist department. So we definitely do like the over for someone like Steph Curry. And when it comes to Steph Curry, we definitely do like the over due to the fact that he has been playing fantastic as well as of lately. He is coming off a pretty cold game against Houston where he only had 3 points, 8 assists, and 2 rebounds. He had 10% field goal percentage, 12.5% he shot from the 3. So yes, it was a cold shooting night, but we should see him be able to bounce back in this game. Now, looking at both of these teams as well, Suns and Warriors, both pretty fast-paced teams. So we are expecting a lot of pace from this game, which should definitely have a huge effect in this one. Now, looking at the Golden State Warriors and also the matchup here, the big reason why we do very much like the over as well is that when we look at actually the Phoenix Suns, they also do a poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the point guard position. But since Suns do rank poorly in points and assists, I would focus a little bit more on those two than the rebounds. And when you look at Steph Curry's most recent games, he has been putting on quite a show. He had, yeah, like I mentioned, he is coming off a pretty poor Houston game, but before that, he had 36 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds against Denver. Then had 37 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds against LA Lakers, and then 52 points, 8 assists, and 10 rebounds against, the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Steph has been playing very, very well. He's also had a really good usage rate, which we think is super important. And, we think just off of sheer volume alone, we should see him be able to go on the over in this one. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards, as we all know, fantastic player from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season because he has been averaging 27.4 points, ranking him 4th, 5.7 rebounds, ranking him 62nd, also 4.6 assists, ranking him 46, or tied at 46, and then a field goal percentage of, 44.6% from the field, ranking him 89th. So, when it comes to someone like Anthony Edwards, we actually do like the situation here because they do face off against the Milwaukee Bucks coming into this next matchup. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game there. But when we look at both of these teams, starting with the Timberwolves, now we did just mention them somewhat briefly, but the Timberwolves do rank 7th in the Western Conference. And like we mentioned, the Western Conference is a very, very tight race. Pretty much 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th all have the same record as of right now. So this is definitely a make or break game for this Timberwolves team as they try to solidify the win in order to set themselves up if they can get out of the play-ins and actually solidify a spot in the playoffs. So it is definitely going to be an interesting time for them. We definitely see that being absolutely huge for, this team if the Timberwolves are able to pull it off and get this win. Now, Bucks, on the other hand, a little bit of a similar but different situation. Now, Milwaukee Bucks do rank 5th actually in the NBA Eastern Conference. However, the Bucks have already secured themselves a playoff spot. So they definitely are in the playoffs. Now, where they rank in the playoffs is a complete different story due to the fact that Pistons do have 43 wins, Bucks have 44. So, all it takes is one loss, one or two losses here and there from Bucks and a couple of wins from Pistons, and you could actually see Bucks fall to the 6th spot, which would actually put them in a little bit of a different situation with a different matchup. So it definitely really does come down to the wire where Bucks do want to stand coming into this game. Now, looking at the Milwaukee Bucks over this season and where they rank defensively, we do see the Bucks rank 15th in points allowed. On top of that, moving on into assists allowed, we do see that the Bucks do also rank pretty poorly as they rank 21st and then 25th in rebounds allowed. So for someone like Anthony Edwards, we definitely see him going on the over in this one. Bucks just rank really poorly in all 3 categories, and we definitely see, someone like Anthony Edwards being able to take advantage of this and going on the over in this one. Now, like we mentioned before, when it comes to this matchup, Timberwolves and Bucks, Timberwolves do have Anthony Edwards at that shooting guard position, and Bucks really, really do struggle against the shooting guard position, and that's where we definitely see Anthony Edwards being able to take advantage of this. It's definitely going to be very interesting due to the fact that, when it comes to actually this matchup, Timberwolves have been playing great and they have been on a little bit of a hot streak, so you definitely want to take that into consideration. If you look at the last 5 games, they are on a 5-game win streak so far and have been getting even better and better when it comes to Anthony Edwards. Now, Edwards is coming off a matchup where he had 37 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, and another matchup where he had 34 points, 8 assists, 10 rebounds, so actually went over in all 3 of his lines. Another matchup where he had 28 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds as well. So, we definitely have seen Anthony Edwards, even if he does miss his line, remain very, very close to his averages. So, for that reason, we definitely see him still going on the over in this situation, especially against a poorly defensive Milwaukee Bucks team. So, keep an eye out for his line. I wouldn't really focus on any, whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. I think he has the capability to go on the over in all 3, if the possibility is there or if the line does come out. So, keep an eye out for him there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about James Harden. So, as you all know, James Harden, great player from none other than the LA Clippers. And he's done a fantastic job so far this season, averaging 22.5 points, ranking him 20th, 5.7 rebounds, ranking him 63rd, 8.6 assists, ranking him 5th, and then 40.3% from the field, ranking him 114th. So he has done a fantastic job for none other than the LA Clippers. And when it comes to the LA Clippers, we actually do see them have themselves a very interesting matchup against none other than the actual San Antonio Spurs. Now, looking at both these teams, we do see a little bit of a different situation. Now, when we look at the LA Clippers, we see that the LA Clippers do rank 5th in the Western Conference. Like we've mentioned with the other three, you know, Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, Grizzlies all have the same record, and Clippers are only one game behind, or one win behind Nuggets. So I definitely see that being a big thing coming into this game, and we definitely are expecting Clippers to come out, you know, guns blazing, because they don't want to end in the play-ins if they end up losing a couple, and maybe one of these other teams that do have the same tied record end up winning. So it is still a very crucial game for the Clippers. Now, Spurs on the other side, a little bit of a different story. Spurs do have a record of 32-46 and rank 13th in the Western Conference. So very different record there. And when it comes to the Spurs, we are also expecting them to play very differently due to the fact that not only is Victor Wembanyama out, but they are obviously in tank situation, as due to the fact that Spurs do rank 13th, their chances of making the playoffs are 0. So, you know, we definitely see someone or a team like Spurs playing sort of a different type of basketball due to the fact that they may not actually want to try to get this win and try to restrict it as much as they can. Now, looking at the points, rebounds, and assists allowed, we see that Spurs, when it comes to points allowed, they do actually rank decently, as they rank 18th. Moving on into rebounds allowed, we see that the Spurs rank 28th, and then rebounds allowed, we see that they rank 26th. So James Harden and also the matchup against Spurs, it is going to be an interesting one, but we definitely see someone like James Harden going on the over in this one. And a big reason being is that when it comes to the, you know, team like the LA Clippers, they definitely continue to feed James Harden as much as they can. Harden's usage rate has remained very high, even against tougher teams. And we definitely see that translating over, especially to a team like the San Antonio Spurs, who don't really rank too well. So it is definitely going to be interesting to see how this all goes. Now, we do very much look at the last 5 games, and we have seen James Harden has been doing very well. He's coming off a 29 point, 14 assist, 7 rebound game. Another matchup where he actually had 24 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he's able to do this against some pretty tough teams, and we definitely see this happening in the next matchup against the San Antonio Spurs. So we should see him go on the over in this one.